Okay, so you're sitting there, you're about to get vaccinated, and the nurse is coming at you with a needle.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, just a little prick, right?
Yeah, right.
But what happens next is really amazing.
Yeah.
It's like you've just lit the Olympic torch for your immune system.
It really is.
And this whole chain reaction starts to happen. It's a whole symphony of defenses.
You got it.
So today on our deep dive, we are going to be talking all about what your body actually does day by day after you get that shot and why it even matters.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. We just kind of take this for granted.
Yeah, we do.
We're so focused on getting the vaccine,
Mm-hmm.
but how it all works is a story worth telling.
Totally. And trust me, listeners, we are going to get into all the less fun bits.
Oh, yeah.
Using all the awesome sources you've sent us.
Absolutely.
So day one, let's call it the alarm sounds.
Okay.
That needle goes in.
But it's not the needle itself that actually sets things off.
Not really.
It's what that needle delivers.
Oh, okay.
So you've got a weakened virus or a piece of a virus or even instructions to make a piece of a virus.
Right, the mRNA vaccines.
Exactly. So this is the foreign signal that your body is going to pick up on.
So it's not like an instant zap of immunity. I always kind of imagined it was like that.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. Think of it more like sending up a flare.
Okay.
You have these cells in your body called antigen-presenting cells.
Okay.
They're like the lookouts. They're constantly patrolling, looking for anything that doesn't belong. So when they spot this foreign signal from the vaccine, they're like, hold on a second, this doesn't belong here.
So this is where those dendritic cells come in, right?
Yes. Dendritic cells are like the messengers.
Right.
They grab a sample of this foreign signal and rush it to the lymph nodes.
And the lymph nodes are like the immune system's headquarters.
Exactly.
Okay, so there's travel time involved.
Yep.
That makes sense why it's not instant immunity.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening at these lymph nodes? Is it like a big meeting?
You could say that. The dendritic cells present this foreign signal to the T cells. These are your specialized immune fighters.
Gotcha.
And to get everyone on board, they release these chemical signals called cytokines.
Okay.
You can kind of think of them like setting off the alarm klaxons.
Ah, so that's why we get that soreness and maybe even a little fever.
Precisely.
It's not that the vaccine's bad, it's just our body doing its thing.
Exactly. And the stronger your immune system, the more noticeable this initial response might be.
Okay.
Younger people, for example, often have a more pronounced reaction.
Really? So it's almost like a sign of a healthy defense system.
In this context, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
And the type of vaccine you get also plays a role. So, for example, with mRNA vaccines,
Right.
your cells actually start producing a piece of the virus protein themselves based on those instructions we talked about.
Hold on. So my body's like a little mini virus factory for a bit.
Only a harmless piece of it.
Okay, good.
Think of it as building a training dummy for your immune system. So it's enough to teach your body how to fight back without actually causing any illness.
That makes me feel a lot better.
Good.
But I'm guessing this is just the beginning of the story.
Oh, yeah.
What happens on day 2?
Well, day 2, we shift from alarm to action.
Ooh.
The lymph nodes become like a boot camp,
Okay.
and all those T cells we talked about, they start to specialize.
Oh, wow.
So you've got your helper T cells, they're like the coordinators, and then you have your cytotoxic T cells. These are like the assassins. They go in and take out infected cells.
Wow. Things are getting intense now.
Yeah.
So we've got the alarm sounded.
Yeah.
The troops are gathering. What's next in this immune system saga?
So we've got these T cells training, but there's another key player in this whole immune response.
Oh, really? Who?
The B cells. These guys are the antibody factories.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of those.
Yeah, and they're getting their blueprints from the dendritic cells and the helper T cells we talked about earlier.
So the antibodies, they're like the big guns, right? The ones
Yeah.
that go out and actually fight the virus.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. Each antibody is designed to target that specific virus or that piece of the virus that the vaccine introduced.
Okay.
They can either latch onto it and mark it for destruction by other immune cells, or they can actually prevent it from infecting cells in the first place.
So it's a two-pronged attack then.
Exactly.
T cells taking care of any infected cells.
Right.
And antibodies patrolling for the virus itself.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty clever.
The immune system's pretty amazing.
It is, but this all takes time, right? I'm guessing we're not feeling 100% by day 3 or 4.
Probably not. You're likely still experiencing some side effects as your immune system's working through all this.
That makes sense.
But here's what's really fascinating. Even as you're feeling a little rough, those B cells are reaching peak antibody production around day 4.
No kidding. So they're like pumping out the antibodies ready for action.
Exactly.
But this brings up a question I've always had. Why do some vaccines need multiple doses?
Oh, that's a good question.
If all this is happening after just one, why not just call it a day?
Well, it all comes down to memory. Immune memory, to be precise.
Wow.
It's not enough for your body to just learn how to fight the virus once. It needs to remember how to do it long term.
Got it.
And multiple doses reinforce this memory. It's kind of like studying for a big exam.
So the first dose is like cramming for the test.
Yeah.
And the second dose is what really helps you remember the material.
Exactly. And with each exposure, those memory cells become more numerous and more efficient.
It's not just about remembering. It's about getting better at remembering.
Right. Think of it this way. After the first shot, you might have a handful of soldiers trained to fight that specific virus.
Yeah.
But after the second shot, you've got a whole battalion, highly specialized and ready to deploy at a moment's notice.
Whoa, that's a powerful image.
It is.
But I've heard that immunity can wane over time, even with multiple doses. Doesn't that defeat the purpose?
Well, it's true that antibody levels naturally decline over time, but that doesn't mean immunity is gone. It's more like the troops are still there. They're just not on high alert anymore.
I see.
And this is where boosters come in.
So boosters are like a refresher course for those memory cells.
Exactly. They reintroduce that viral signal, prompting your memory cells to rapidly produce a fresh batch of antibodies.
Like sending the troops back to boot camp for a quick tune-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
But there's another piece of the puzzle I'm curious about. These different types of antibodies, like IgG and IgA. What's the deal with those?
So this is where the immune response gets even more tailored. Different antibody types have different specialties.
Oh, interesting.
For example, IgG is kind of the workhorse.
Okay.
It circulates in your blood and provides long-lasting protection.
So it's like the main force.
Yeah, and then you have IgA, which is more of a specialist.
Okay.
It guards your mucosal surfaces, like your nose and throat.
So it's like having different branches of the military, each with their own area of expertise.
I like that analogy.
IgG, the Army, IgA, the Coast Guard. Yeah, and this specialization is why some vaccines are designed to be delivered in specific ways.
Oh.
Well, for example, a nasal spray vaccine might be better at triggering IgA production.
Makes sense.
Which would be ideal for protecting against respiratory viruses.
This is incredible. The more we dig into this, the more I realize how complex and intricate the immune system really is.
It really is. It's like a whole world operating within us.
It is, and we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah. But even with this basic understanding, it's clear that vaccines are more than just a shot. They're this carefully orchestrated dance between science and biology designed to protect us from these invisible threats all around us.
But some of those threats are more, shall we say, intense than others.
That's true.
And our source mentioned a few vaccines that have a bit of a reputation, right?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's talk about these heavy hitters of the vaccine world. All right, so we've talked about the usual suspects, but our listeners sent in some info on vaccines that are a little more, well, hardcore. Yeah, some real heavy hitters of the vaccine world.
Exactly like yellow fever. That one always sounded kind of intense.
Oh, it is. Yellow fever is no joke. It's mosquito-borne and can be absolutely devastating.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
And the vaccine for it is a live, weakened version of the virus.
Live virus.
Yep, but don't worry, it's super effective, often giving lifelong immunity from just a single dose.
Wow, that's amazing. But I'm guessing there's a catch.
You got it. Nothing in biology is ever that easy.
Right.
So because it's a live virus, even though it's weakened, there's a small risk of serious side effects.
Oh, like what?
Well, things like neurotropic or viscerotropic disease.
And those are?
Basically, it means the vaccine virus affects the nervous system or internal organs. It's very rare, but it's why this vaccine isn't recommended for everyone.
So it's a powerful tool, but you got to be the right candidate for it.
Exactly.
What about rabies? That one always seemed extra scary because of how you get it.
Rabies is fascinating because the vaccine can actually be given after exposure.
Wait, really? Yep. It's a race against time to build up immunity before the virus reaches the brain.
That's intense.
It is. It involves multiple doses, and sometimes they even give you rabies immunoglobulin right near the bite site.
Wow, so it's like an emergency response.
Exactly.
Okay, last one, BCG. I've heard that one leaves a mark.
Literally. BCG is mainly used for tuberculosis in high-risk countries. And yep, it's another live one. This time it's a weakened bacteria, and it often causes a little ulcer at the injection site that heals really slowly.
So that's why people have a mark from it.
Yeah, it's actually expected.
Yeah.
And BCG can also cause more swollen lymph nodes than other vaccines, something to keep an eye on.
Wow. So each vaccine really does have its own personality risks and benefits to consider.
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing how we've learned to work with the immune system in so many different ways.
It really is. But you know what strikes me about all this?
What's that?
We've been talking about all the mechanics, the cells, the antibodies,
Right.
but the real story of vaccination is a human one.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. For centuries, diseases like smallpox just ravaged humanity.
Yeah, that's hard to even imagine.
Entire communities were wiped out. And then this idea emerges. What if we could teach the body to fight back before it even gets sick?
It's almost like a deal we make with our own biology.
Yeah.
A little discomfort now for a lifetime of protection.
And not just for ourselves, but for those around us.
Right. Herd immunity. Protecting the vulnerable.
Exactly. It's this collective effort built on trust in science and trust in each other.
That's actually really powerful when you think about it that way.
It is.
So next time we get vaccinated, it's not just a shot. It's a legacy of human ingenuity.
You got it.
It's a story of resilience written into our very cells.
That's a great way to put it.
And that's something worth reflecting on for sure.
Absolutely. We often get caught up in the what of vaccines,
Yeah.
but the how and the why are just as important.
They are.
It's a reminder that science isn't just about facts and figures. It's about our shared humanity and our constant quest to overcome challenges.
That's a beautiful thought. Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for joining us. And remember, stay curious.